Good day, friends. Derek, that ADU guy, and I'm back for phase 2 of this ground-up accessory dwelling unit behind me. If you missed phase 1, there's a link below where we went over site work, we did all the utilities, we put in that foundation. Now in this video, we're gonna go over the actual physical vertical build process of framing. I'm gonna take you through all the systems within the walls: plumbing, electrical, mechanical, HVAC. We're gonna talk about insulation. I'm gonna crawl into the crawl space and show you the underfloor plumbing. We're gonna go over every step of this build process so you at home can build your very own ADU, or if you're hiring a general contractor, you'll at least know what you're paying for. If this information brings you great value, please like and subscribe so we can produce awesome content just like this. And if you want to see what I'm doing in the ADU world, feel free to follow me at that ADU guy on Instagram.
Coming to you from the underfloor here as Trevor puts in the 6mm vapor barrier that's required by code in our area. We also have to have 18 inches of clearance between the native ground and the bottom of these framing members. A lot easier to work down here before the floor sheeting is on. Underfloor insulation is done. These are R38 high-density fiberglass bats. Check the specs in your area. Different climate zones have different requirements for R values in your floor insulation. So the crew is here to sheet the floor. We're just waiting for the frost to melt on top of these floor joists so the glue will stick. And I'm gonna crawl down into here and show you guys some underfloor plumbing. So on this underfloor, you can see there's a small pony wall in the middle supporting these joists halfway. Here's the twine that holds the bats into place, and it's just stapled to the bottom of the floor joists. You've got to have an access hole somewhere, either in your foundation or in your floor, to get down into the crawl space. And this is one big benefit of having a crawl space foundation as opposed to having a slab, is if this was a slab, we wouldn't be able to access any of this for repairs or for any kind of maintenance underneath here. Before framing begins and you're planning your material delivery, try to think about where it's going to be convenient to set it. So when the lumber truck shows up, it has a lift and it can put these units of lumber wherever you want them within reason. So you can see here the floor is going to go in easily. It's going to slide right off that pile onto the deck. All of the wall studs are over here, and then all the longer plate stock is in this pile. Framing crews already started to pre-cut all their headers. These are window and door headers, and then they're strategically stacked back here. So just like anything else, if you have a systematic approach, you're gonna save time and money on your build. Here's the glue going down to secure the panels as well as prevent them from squeaking. Full sheet going down right here. Mickey's working it hard. Make sure you follow all manufacturer's instructions for side gapping and nailing. To seat the tongue and groove, they use a sledgehammer and a beater board so they don't beat up the grooved edge of this floor sheeting. It's all about efficiencies. Framing crew has one person nailing, one person cutting, and one person gluing. They work like a well-oiled machine to sheet this floor. There are several ways to frame the exterior walls of your ADU, but the easiest and most effective is to frame the longest exterior walls first. So these are laid out on 24-inch centers. This is high efficiency framing, so there's less wood members in the walls and more insulation. After these two exterior long walls are framed in place, they'll be stood up, and then the smaller exterior end walls will be framed. After that, interior walls will go up. You can see the bottom plates are notched out around the gas line. They're also notched out around other plumbing members. Here's an up-close look at how this wall jack works. They simply block the floor with some 2x6, use a long straight 2x4, and they're making quick work of this wall. Aspect and sighting of your orientation of the ADU is important. This is the south side and this is the west. So you can see care was taken to put large openings on the sunny side to let natural light in, and then kind of the opposite taken on the shady side. So this wall looks directly into the neighbor's house, and in order to keep privacy, this design has a solid wall, and then where there are windows,
you can go with a high mounted window. This is a 6020, and it's high enough that you're not looking into the neighbor's windows, but you can also see blue sky and light. And then on the back side of this bedroom, there's obviously going to be an egress window for life safety. Here's a good example of some framing anatomy. So on the outside, we have sheathing, which gives the building shear. We have common wall studs. So everything in the middle of the wall is going to be an uncut common stud. We don't have to do anything except lay it on the floor and nail it to the top and bottom plates. Next up, we have our king studs and then our trimmer studs. So our king studs go all the way to the top, and our trimmers are what hold the header. So anywhere we have a door or a window, we have to have a headstock, and it's got to be engineered to span the length of opening that you have. And then on the top, we have our double top plate. And those are the components of a simple wall system. So some basic pickup framing. These are little tasks that we do that aren't super pressing. Ideally, we want to get this thing dried in as quick as possible, but you can go back and do it anytime, such as nailing underneath your window headers. So this 4x10 header, if we did not have a nailer here, there'd be nothing to attach the drywall to. We also want to make sure that there's good nailing in every corner. Wherever we have an intersection point, we have to have good nailing on both sides, also for mounting our drywall. Here's a good look at some of the rough plumbing that's stubbed out. That's going to be for the water heater. In here inside this bathroom, this is a toilet flange on the ground, and this is what our drain and hot cold lines look like coming up through this bathroom wall. Most interior walls are going to be 2x4 framing. It is nice to use 2x6 framing on a bathroom wall, so you have plenty of room to get your 2-inch and 1.5-inch drain lines in. It gets pretty thin if you start drilling 2.5-inch holes in a 3.5-inch stud wall if it was framed with 2x4s. So behind me is a good example of a gable end wall, or what we would call a rake wall. It's going to be harder to build than the standard exterior wall because there's no common studs. Each one of these studs is custom cut on the angle of the roof. So we build this on the ground. We actually map it out on the deck with chalk lines, build it on the ground, and stand it up either with wall jacks or with people. Now that it's up, you can see that each individual balloon frame stud is custom cut. We've got our window headers. Something else to note is there has to be a supporting post if you're going to be carrying the load of a roof with a ridge beam. So in the center of this wall, there's a 4x6 post that's going to carry that beam and transfer the load down to the foundation. So the framing crew is making super quick work of this ADU. So the exterior walls are done. The interior walls were just framed on the ground and stood up into place. And this is a good visual of what an ADU looks like without a roof. And I'll talk about the two most common types of roofs. One would be a truss roof, where you actually order a prefabricated triangle and you set it down on the exterior walls of your ADU. And the other, and what we're going to do here, is a stick frame roof. So there's going to be a supporting ridge beam that goes from end to end, and that's going to hold our 2x12 roof rafters. So we're just about ready to set the ridge beam here. So there's a temporary scaffolding set up with some framing members to help us safely get up there and set that ridge beam. Using the knuckle on the boom lift to set this ridge beam. And it's set. After the ridge beam is set, we're going to be able to hang our roof rafters, 2x12s, 24 inches on center. Once that's done, the roof sheeting can go down, and we're going to just about have this thing dried in. This whole ADU roof was rolled out today. So 2x12 roof rafters, nailed in 24 inches on center. They're attached to the ridge beam with an engineered bracket, and then they're toe-nailed to the double top plate on this side. There's ventilated blocks every bay. This is going to be a full ventilated ridge roof, so air is going to come in from the bird block and go out at the ridge. Here's a trick of the trade. When you're sheeting your ADU, put a couple of sheets down in the corner and build a platform, and have the lumberyard actually set your unit of roof sheathing up on top of the roof, so you don't have to individually buck each piece up there to sheet your roof. So the roof sheathing is complete. This is a 5/8 OSB, which stands for Ordinated Strand Board, on the field, and then there's that BC 5/8 plywood on the edges of the front and side eaves. We can't use OSB for an exterior application. So the trim and siding package just showed up. A couple tricks of the trade here. You can see
these lines drawn on the house wrap with Sharpie marker, these represent the backing. So when the lap siding is getting nailed up, there's no question to where the stud is behind the sheeting. You can nail right on these lines. Down here is a level line that's marked at each corner with a laser level and then snapped out to start the starter course belly band on, and then from there the siding will stack on top of that. First step of siding after the studs are marked out on the house wrap is going to be to go around and put a filler strip on the bottom. That's a little drip edge, and it's going to put the first starter course of siding on a 5-degree angle so water will drip off of it. The corner trim is also nailed on, and the window rough openings are prepped and flashed for the windows. Up top here is a belly band with a Z flashing, and then in the gable there's a custom gable end detail, little board and batten design. Give this ADU a little bit of depth. So Jim and his crew just showed up, and they're gonna make quick work of this roof. So the roof is loaded by a conveyor belt. They stack it up on the ridge, and they're laying out shingles starting at the bottom. Here we have a low-cost, custom craftsman front porch. There's gonna be 2 posts that go down to the finished patio that hold up this roof structure. It's on the same slope as the primary roof, and it's a great affordable way to add a covered entry to your ADU. Quick look at the front porch patio before it's poured. So there's compacted gravel in the center, there's a thickened edge, and then we have our rebar actually drilled, called doweled, into our concrete stem wall. So it's gonna be stable over time. They just put a nice hard finish on this, and Eric is gonna do a custom room finish to give this a nice texture so it's not slippery. So this ADU is a deluxe model and comes with a garage, but that's not normal, so don't get your hopes up. I will say that if you do have room for a garage and you can fit it and afford it, it is a nice addition. ADUs are usually capped at a maximum square footage of living space, but garage or storage space does not count against you. So the boys are back out here doing some flat work today.
Just smoothing everything out, making sure there's no rock holes, making everything look pretty.
Moving right along here, the lap siding is up. This is concrete lap with a 7 1/4 exposure, a simple, affordable window trim detail with 5/4 by 4 legs and apron, and then a 5/4 by 5 head trim. Paint crew just showed up. They're taking advantage of this nice weather and getting all the corner trim and lap caulked in. Up on the ladder right now, working on the front porch. Sometimes the order of operations is gonna follow the weather. Ideally, everybody would be working inside right now, but with a break in the rain, it's a good opportunity to jump outside and do some work. A lot of painting has to be done when temperature is above 55 degrees, so it'll cure properly. So always make sure to read manufacturer's instructions.
So now that we have a roof on this ADU, we can start putting our interior components in. So the plumbers are here right now. They're just getting finished up with rough plumbing. The HVAC company is come and gone. I'm gonna walk everybody around and talk about a couple of those components and show you some firsthand examples of how they go in your wall.
We've got Jordan in today running rough electrical. So all the boxes are in. Switches are usually 48 inches off the floor. Outlet boxes, 16 inches off the ground. He's pulling some 14.2 here. There's a little bit of 12.2 in the wall. Here's an example of a box before it's made up. They pull about a foot extra in. You can see that all the holes are drilled in these exterior studs right in the middle. If you don't center your holes, you're gonna have to put shields over them to protect them from nail puncture. Got all the lines stapled off, running nice and neat. This is gonna be the all-in-one panel over here, right above the UFR. That isn't in yet. All the can lights are up in the vault. He's up on top of his ladder right now, wiring in one of the can lights. Electrical contractors are just about done. Here's a good look at the corner before the all-in-one panel exterior mounted goes in. You can see there's 20-ish circuits just piled up right here. This is what it looks like inside your walls before everything is made up.
So this is the last time we're gonna see inside these walls. As you can see behind me, all the rough electrical's done, the rough plumbing is done, the rough mechanical is topped out through the roof. Next up is gonna be the insulation contractors. They're gonna come in and fill every penetration point between the interior and the exterior of this unit. And then they're gonna put fiberglass bats in the walls and up in the vault. Right after that, drywall is gonna go in and we'll be on to phase 3. Wrapping up phase 2 of this build, you can see the insulation contractors have come and gone. There's R23 fiberglass insulation in the walls, There's rigid foam insulation above the door and window headers. We have R38 high-density bats up in the lid, and then they paid particular attention to the house tightening. That's where they caulk along the bottom plate where it meets the subfloor and fill any penetration points in the interior or exterior of this unit. It's really imperative that we control the airflow. We want a high-efficiency building, and that's actually an asset class for your ADU. You don't want to skimp out on insulation because that's something that we can pass on to our tenants that's going to save them money for years down the road, and it'll help your ADU stand out in your market. If this information brings you value, please like and subscribe so we can continue to bring you awesome content just like this, and tune in to phase 3 of this build series where we get this unit across the finish line.